but we're happy to have you here. Just want to turn it over to Kurt Caracol for a few minutes. He wants to welcome you to Third Federal. He's with the Third Federal Foundation, so if you give Kurt your attention, thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry about that walk from the parkway, but everybody got their steps in today. It's a little bit chilly, but we have a Commit to Fit program here at Third Federal, so we believe people need to walk and do their steps. So thank you for participating in that. On behalf of Mark Stefanski, our CEO, I want to welcome you again here for your training. We want to thank you so much for your participation in this program. Reaching out to 8th graders and CMSD is absolutely crucial. I know that this takes a lot of your time and your effort, but we really want to thank you for your willingness to participate. There's a think tank out of Washington, D.C., the Economic Innovation Group, that did a study in 2016 naming Cleveland as the most economically distressed large city in the United States. That's not a list that you want to be number one on. As I said, it's a good thing that D.C. still considers us a large city, but it's not too good that we're number one on that list. But one of the main reasons we're on that list is because we have not developed the 21st century skills in our young people to fill the jobs that are required these days. So the effort that you're making right now is critical in trying to do that. Get kids to the right high schools to develop those skills that they can turn into jobs which they can then become productive members of our society and let our economy boom as it did in years past. So your participation is really appreciated by us. We invest about $1.5 million a year in our Broadway P16 educational program, which is designed to build literacy and family stability. We're seeing some real success in what we've done, and certainly the program that you're participating in is one of those great successes. So thank you for your participation.
Okay, so you have the PowerPoints on your table if you want to follow along as we go through them. And then I'm also going to be referencing this little book a little. This is our year-end report from year 2. So it's going to show you kind of the data we've been collecting and also some other information. So we'll go through a few pages of this, but please do take a look at it outside of here as well. So our agenda for today, so we're going to first talk about True2U's impact and look at some of the data. Then we'll do some reflection and connection activities. Then we'll have representatives from the Greater Cleveland Partnership to talk about True2U as a workforce development tool. We'll take a break. We'll go through program updates and then get more into the curriculum, and you'll have time to play those games that are on your table. Okay, so True2U's impact the data. So this is looking back to year 1. So we're in the 3rd year of the program now. We want to kind of give context to what we're doing. So this 24% increase statistic, this is a 24% increase in students actively choosing their high school from the CMSD portfolio compared to the previous year. So that's data coming out of the school district, and what they did is they compared the schools that True2U, there was 22 schools that True2U was in the 1st year of the program. They compared their active selection statistics to the previous year before True2U came in, and they saw a 24% increase in students actually going through that process and actively making those decisions. And as you know, that's one of our kind of key objectives of the program, so we were very encouraged by that. This year, 87% at True2U schools, this is talking about Naviance. So we had 87% of students at those 22 schools engage with Naviance versus only 22% at other schools. And that's an important piece of our program as well, because one of the reasons, so our curriculum, of course, uses Naviance, as you know, but then also we want to get them used to going into Naviance, because they'll use that as they go through high school too. So getting them to engage earlier with it, they become more comfortable, and then they'll use it more readily in high school. And then this statistic over here is from the Developmental Assets Profile. So that was a tool developed out of the Search Institute in Minnesota. And basically, among other things, it measures student social competencies. And you can see these behaviors listed here. So student social competencies include avoiding unhealthy behaviors, expressing their feelings, planning ahead, being sensitive to others. And what we do with the DAP, we call it the DAP, we administer a pre-assessment, so before the program begins in the fall, every student takes one of these, and then after the program concludes in the spring, they take another one. And then CASE will go and match up based on student ID and look at the pre and post for each student. And so what we saw in the first year is that there was a statistically significant increase over the program year of students reporting higher levels of social competencies. And you can see, like, these are some of the things that you definitely talk to them about. So that planning ahead, being sensitive to others, avoiding unhealthy behaviors. Are there any questions on any of this data before I move on? Okay, so that was year one. Then year two, so this was for last school year. So then, you know, we started at 22 schools the first year. Last year was 44. So this is what we saw from year two. So active high school selection went up across the district, but at True2U buildings experienced more than twice the increase as buildings without the program. Okay, so again, that's those students going and actively making those selections. So there was a 26.9% increase in True2U schools and a 10.6% increase in schools without True2U. So again, one of the key components, and it's working. Thanks to your work with the students, these are the impacts we're seeing. We had 90% of 8th grade students who were in True2U engaged with Naviance, and it was only 4% at non-True2U schools last year. And then the DAP results take two. So with that same kind of inventory of behaviors for the social competencies, again, we saw statistical significance in the increase of that for the students across the program year. So all of these are very encouraging to us, and I hope they're encouraging to you. This is what you're doing. You're doing this work with the students, and it's working. It really is having an impact on what they're doing. We also asked educators about what they see as some benefits from the program. So this quotation is from Lisa O'Donnell. She's an 8th grade teacher at Artemis Ward. I'll just go through a few of her points. The True2U program should be nationwide for students in an urban environment. Our students do not always have the encouragement to think about choosing the right high school, set goals, and think about their future. They get excited each month to meet with you, basically. And so she's seeing an impact in her students. And kind of anecdotally, other educators we've talked to say that students are more prepared to make these decisions because of True2U. The students are more engaged at the high school choice fair. And so they really are seeing the effects of what you're doing. And then this is from Eric Gordon, the CEO of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. True2U mentors continue to be instrumental to our student scholars. We've seen great successes as a result of the program. Active high school selection increased across the district, and in True2U schools it experienced even a larger increase in the number of families actively choosing, so he's referring back to that statistic we looked at. And basically he's thanking you for your participation in this, and he himself is seeing the impact that you're having with the students. Okay, and then, so you got the data, you got the educators, which is all great, but then this is what the students are saying. So this is kind of one of our main focus. We want to know what they're saying. So in year two, based on those student surveys that you administer at the end of your sessions with them, this is some of the data we collected from them last year. So student surveys conducted last year found that 93% of students would recommend True2U to a friend. 77% felt more prepared to make a high school choice. 73% discovered something new about themselves. And 97% found information reviewed during a True2U session helpful. Okay. So those are pretty, I think, impressive statistics. And I like to always think about this. These are 8th graders again, right? So we're putting this in context. So I think sometimes you go into the classroom and it might not be evident exactly what the students are taking away from each session, or they might not even want to show you sometimes. But then on their surveys, this is the type of impact that they are indicating you all are having on them, and that they're enjoying their time and learning from it. Okay, and here are student surveys from this year. So these are the students you are working with. So this is from session 1, 2, and 3, so October, November, and December. Excuse me. And so this question, how helpful was the information reviewed in today's session? You can see the stats up here. And this is, most of these that we're going to go through are based on about 2,800 surveys. So that's across the 3 sessions. And I just want to kind of note that, you know, because of how this data is collected, these 2,800 could represent, like one student could have filled out 3 surveys, 1 each month. So this could represent, you know, it's not going to represent 2,800 students. Okay, so you can see those numbers. And then I kind of looked at the students that said that this was extremely or very helpful, and those combined are at 79%. So 79% of students are saying this is extremely or very helpful for them. Today I discovered something new about myself. So 74% of students are saying this across the first 3 sessions. Before today, I already knew, and you can look at the numbers up there, but I kind of added up some of what we discussed, a little of what we discussed, and none of what was discussed, so those students who are really taking a decent amount away from each session, and that's at 66%. After today's session, I feel more prepared to make my high school choice. So already, this was, again, based on the first 3 sessions. So the first 2 sessions didn't even really have that much content about the high schools. That 3rd session did. You were working on that a lot. But even with that, 53% said that after those sessions, they felt more prepared to make a high school choice. And then if you could, how likely is it that you would recommend True2U to a friend or relative? And here, if we look at extremely likely, very likely, or likely, we're looking at 90% of students. So 90% of students are saying that they would be likely to recommend this program to a friend or relative. And again, that's all because of you. And working with them every month and really engaging with them and working through the curriculum. And then overall, how would you rate today's session? If we look at excellent and very good, that those 2 together are at 75%. 75% of surveys are saying excellent and very good. And then if you add in good along with that, you're at 94%. So 94% are saying this, they would rate it as good or better. Good. All right. So, how does that make you feel? How do these numbers make you feel as mentors? Good, yeah. So I'm glad you're able to see kind of some numbers to what you've been doing. You know, we really could not do this without you, and so this is a reflection of the work that you do and your patience and your consistency with the students, and so, you know, please know that we are very grateful for what you do. And so are the students. Okay, so any questions on any of that before we move on? Okay, great. So we're going to move into some connecting and reflecting exercises. So the first one we're going to do is really an activity to connect you all. So how many of you have done the human knot before? Our returning mentors probably have done, okay. So this is actually the human knot is your first activity with the students for this. Bring up Shauna Marbury from the Greater Cleveland Partnership. She is the General Counsel and Senior Vice President of Education and Workforce. And then later, Angela Fining will be up here, the Director of Education and Workforce from the Greater Cleveland Partnership. So if you'd welcome Shauna, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Greater Cleveland Partnership, we are the Regional Chamber of Commerce, so we are a business membership organization, and we focus on economic development in Northeast Ohio. And we consider education, including True2U, workforce development, we consider that to be a very crucial part of economic development and making sure that we have a vital region and a place where people want to live. So when we talk about workforce development as a tool, now you have your slides in front of you, so I don't want you to look ahead. Could you close your booklets for just 1 second? Just a little quiz here. Who can give me a sentence about what they think workforce development is or means? A quick definition. Anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Preparing students to fill jobs in the future that are in high demand.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Prepare the community to fuel an economy that can be resilient and self-sufficient.
Wow, that was a good one. Okay, anybody else? Any other ideas about workforce development?
Providing workers, future and current ones, with the skills they need to plug into the economy, and then providing employers with the skilled workers.
Okay.
It's the match.
Okay. And those are all a part of the definition. If you want to open your booklets again or just look up front. So this is just a definition that I particularly like. Everything you said was correct. But when we think about workforce development and what it is, it's a system of tools and training. We don't often think about people and employers and training working together as a network. It's been somewhat siloed. But workforce development should be a system or a network. And it's impacting youth, but it's also impacting adults. We have lots of adults who have been disconnected from the workforce system for many different reasons, or maybe are entering the workplace late in life. So they also are impacted by workforce development. And the primary purpose of workforce development is to develop skills and behaviors desired by employers. So everybody has some skill. You know, I may be the best guitarist in the world, or, you know, I can actually do that trick where you hang a spoon on the end of your nose. I think that's a pretty good skill, but nobody's going to hire me because I can hang a spoon on the end of my nose. So workforce development's focus is developing, upskilling folks with skills that employers actually need for jobs that are available. And then finally, we want to make sure that the employment is productive and also that it's flexible, because it's a quickly changing economy. I think we can all think back to jobs that existed when we were in high school or elementary school that, you know, probably aren't around anymore, like the telephone operators. Anybody talk to a telephone operator anymore? There are plenty of jobs like that, so we've got to be flexible. So, just a quick crash course. One slide, I thought that was enough, especially after lunch. Crash course on the history of workforce development. So workforce development has been around since the early 1900s. Probably the most important of it in 1913 was actually the establishment of the Department of Labor. And you can see from the implementing statute, its purpose was to foster, promote, and develop the welfare of wage earners, so those are workers, to improve their working conditions, and to advance their opportunities for profitable employment. So basically that's upskilling. So carry that all the way through to the present. WIOA. Does anybody know what WIOA is? Or have you heard of WIOA? Ma'am, what's WIOA? Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. They slightly changed the name. So that's WIOA. So that was signed into law in 2014 by President Obama, went into effect the following July of 2015. And look at its purpose. Very similar. Helping job seekers access employment, education, training, support services so that they succeed, matching employers with skilled workers that they need to compete in the global economy. So the history of workforce development really hasn't changed. It's always been about developing a worker or a person and making sure that employers are matched to the skills that they need in the workforce. So on the state level, nothing is really different than the federal level. Workforce in the state of Ohio is very important. This photo on the slide is simply a cover of a report that was released in December 2016 by the Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation. This is a special office established by Governor Kasich, whose sole purpose is to focus on workforce development and figure out what we can do better as a state to advance our workers and to advance businesses. So Governor Kasich has said that he wants to identify ways to prepare and continuously retrain Ohioans of all ages for the jobs of today and tomorrow. So I think we can all agree that the jobs of tomorrow actually are here today. We have a pretty quickly moving economy, rapid technology changes, sometimes disruptive technology changes. One stat that comes out of this report is 47% of jobs that exist today in a few years probably won't exist, and 65% of students in high school, so just slightly older than our mentees, will be employed at jobs that do not currently exist today. So that's really a rapidly moving economy, and we have to make sure through workforce development, starting at the 8th grade level and even before, that students are prepared for these changes. So this slide, although very chaotic, actually demonstrates a piece of the workforce development landscape in Northeast Ohio. So some of you may be familiar with some of these organizations. There's organizations like Magnet, WireNet, Newbridge, Youth Opportunities Unlimited, Tri-C, Up in the Corner. So all of these organizations, whether they are institutions of higher education, whether they're service providers, whether they're employers, you see Lincoln Electric has its own welding school that they established in 1917, been around for a while. All of these particular entities are somehow working in the workforce development arena. You'll even see up in the corner, there's the True2U logo. So how is True2U really a workforce development tool? I think some of you, all of you as mentors have been exposed to that. We've worked with our students over the past couple of sessions around the career clusters and talking about different careers and in-demand industries, etc. I am at this point going to turn over the presentation to my colleague, Angela Finding, and she is going to talk a little more in depth about the connection between True2U and workforce development.
Thank you, Shauna. So, business engagement in workforce and education. Shauna provided a great overview of what workforce development is and the current landscape in Northeast Ohio. And now I just want to take a little deeper dive in what that looks like here and in a lot of other places as well. So strengthening ties between education and industry is good for business because it's giving business an opportunity to shape education and better prepare their future workforce, I think was mentioned somewhere as a definition of workforce development. Businesses today are no longer taking a passive role. They are actively getting engaged in education in schools and students of all levels. They are doing this in very creative ways based on what their own parameters are. So gone are the days when we just expect the schools to prepare our workforce and then what happens when we can't find people with the skills that we need. So now businesses are really taking an active role in creating wonderful partnerships with schools. Businesses can help shape their future workforce by investing in education, by supporting initiatives like quality mentoring programs like True2U, and by hosting students or helping create experiential learning activities as well. that particular topic is especially important for industries that are currently facing a talent shortage because it gives them an opportunity to expose students at a young age to not only their industry, but the opportunities that may be available to them down the road. My third point there is a quality workforce is directly linked to a success of a business. If you don't have workers with the skills that you need, if schools are graduating students without the necessary hard skills and soft skills, how can you continue to have a successful growing business? So that in and of itself really drives home to the point that businesses should and do take an active role in educating their future workforce. And then of course, businesses also want to give back because it's the right thing to do, it's socially responsible, because their employees enjoy participating in activities related to education and kids. And as Shauna mentioned, just to again drive it home, that GCP, our philosophy as an organization, as a business organization, is that education is the foundational link to creating a strong talent pipeline. So we strongly encourage and work with our business members to get actively engaged. If they're not, we help try to get them in the door, and if they are currently engaged, we help try to keep them engaged. So my next slide here is really just about what mentoring means to students. So this one actually might resonate with you on a more personal level, but it also very much ties into how important it is to continue to educate our workforce. Somebody in the previous session talked about it taking a village, and this is an aspect of that. You are a part of that. These particular statistics are really focused on at-risk youth, but as you can see here, quality mentoring has powerful positive effects on a student, and that includes all youth, but especially those that are more at risk. Mentoring connects a young person to personal growth and development opportunities, which is a key component of True2U, but also to social and economic opportunities. Youth with mentors are more likely to be successful in school, more likely to be leaders in their communities, and more likely to enter into young adulthood with opportunities for ongoing education and career choices. I myself am a mentor at Luis Munoz Marin. Anybody there? Not in this session? Oh, there you go. And I can say that as a mentor, it's at times exhausting. And you don't always know if you're making an impact. And some days you leave there at your monthly session and you might think, I don't know, maybe they got something, maybe they didn't. And then other times you're talking with them and all of a sudden you see the wheels turning and the light bulbs going off and they're starting to make connections and they're getting excited and you think, there it is, that's why we're here, that's why we're doing this. And you just never know that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they might make a positive, life-changing decision based on something that you told them. And to me, personally, that's worth all of the exhaustion that I might feel working with a group of 13 and 14-year-olds. If only we could bottle their energy, right? So, and my last point here is a more educated society drives economic growth, and that in turn benefits us all. So I talked about why businesses get involved in education, why it's important for them to be engaged for both the education side and the business side. But what does that exactly mean? How do we do that? So at GCP, we help customize those opportunities with our business partners. There is no one-size-fits-all. We will work with them based on their industry, based on their needs, based on their parameters, and help identify a school that's a good partner for them and help create an experience that is the most impactful for everybody involved. And some of those ways we do that are with experiential learning activities. Experiential learning is basically learning by doing. So we help create some of those hands-on experiences with our partners, and that includes things like internships, job shadows, apprenticeships, co-ops, pretty much anything that allows a student to gain some real-world work experience and learn a little bit more about an industry or an employer. My third point here is soft skills training, and this is actually cited very commonly as a challenge that employers are currently facing in finding job candidates with the necessary soft skills. So we work with, again, our business volunteers to bring them into the schools to do activities like mock interviews or resume clinics. And for something like mock interviews, it might be the first time a student was ever exposed to an interview situation. So the volunteer, and it doesn't have to be somebody from an HR background, it could be any business person who can go in and volunteer for this. So they will walk through this pretend interview situation and then provide some constructive feedback to the student at the end of the interview. It's really fun. I have done it myself. So if anybody's ever interested in getting involved in those, we actually have some coming up in March. So shameless plug, please see me, but I can get you connected to some of those opportunities. And then also resume clinics, very similar to mock interviews, another one-off volunteer event that some of our employers really enjoy. And that's sitting with the student and basically going through what a resume is, the important parts of it, how to draft a resume, or providing some constructive feedback on an existing resume that they may have. Because it's important for high school students, this is mostly directed towards high school, but it's important for them to have a resume. And then my last point, I won't go into too much depth because our next speaker will really get into the weeds and the details on the out-of-school experiences, but these are also very important exposure opportunities for students of all levels. Basically what we do is you take a group of students to an organization. They typically get to tour the organization, maybe see some of the work in action, and learn about the breadth of careers that are within one organization. So an example I like to use a lot for that is a lot of times students think that because it's a hospital, they only have medical staff. They have no idea that there's IT and finance and accounting and many other opportunities that take place with one particular organization. So the out-of-school experience has really worked to help expose the students to new industries and new career opportunities that they may have never heard of. So that concludes my presentation. Does anybody have any questions at all before we move on to a 10-minute break?
Really quickly. So
Going to go over program updates. So I'm going to share a little bit, or in my teammate, about the out-of-school experiences. And then I'll start, give you guys a general information about the culminating event, just a little preview. And then we'll bring up Khalid Ali. He's going to talk about the Summer Leadership Academy and also close us out for the evening with the next session's lesson. So my name is Audrey Davis, and I serve as the program manager for True2U. Most of the times, everyone is most familiar with Molly because she sends out most of the communications for the mentors. But I oversee the school part of True2U. So working with the schools, a lot of times mentors say, "What school are you at?" And I say, "I'm at all the schools." And they're like, "Really?" And then I explain how that happens. But this year we have a new team member, and so I'm happy to introduce to you all Megan Williams, who is our project coordinator for True2U. So we're happy to have her be a part of our program this year. And if you haven't had a chance to meet with her, or hear from her, you'll hear from her in a minute. Also, she is taking on the key role of organizing the out-of-school experiences this year. And so I'm just going to do a brief introduction about it, but I'm going to hand the microphone over to her, and she's going to share more details about the out-of-school experience. You heard a little bit in the previous presentation about it and how we kind of get started with it, but the out-of-school experience is designed to broaden the students' awareness of potential careers as well as post-secondary options. A lot of times students do not get to have a college visit until they're a junior or senior in high school, but through True2U we're offering that experience to the students very early as an 8th grader. So that's a high point for the students to be able to go on a college campus as an 8th grader and have that tour and presentation that a senior that's thinking about enrolling there that fall, or even a junior. So we're excited to offer these opportunities. So by providing the students with the opportunity, they spend a day visiting and touring both the Northeast Ohio Business and Organization as well as that local college or university. However, as you'll see in the presentations, we do go beyond Northeast Ohio sometimes to offer these experiences to our students. So I am going to go ahead and pass over the microphone because I don't want to step on any toes and share things that I shouldn't. That's a part of the next slide.
I'm going to put the mic back up. I think that I talk a little bit loud enough, but tell me if
district to get out of the classroom and get into a local organization and college campus to see a day in the life of what it's like to be at that particular organization. So the great thing about that is that these are organizations that are right in our backyard. And that's something to be said about that because it exposes them to things that they otherwise may not have been exposed to. So the True2U program certainly does just that. On the screen here, you see what looks like the structure of our program. It's going to come up fast and furious very soon. It kicks off as of March 1st and will run through May 18th. Field trips for all 66 schools in the district. This is our third year phasing in. For year 1, we had 22 schools. Year 2, we had 44. And now for year 3, we have all 66 schools who are a part of this amazing program who will have to coordinate for the out-of-school experiences for. So, what that looks like for the morning portion, or let me just start. It is an all-day field trip experience, okay? So each school will only go on one out-of-school experience. So I'll be coordinating a total of 66, okay? That's a lot. In the morning portion, they'll take a 90-minute visit to a local business or organization. That's where they'll learn about the organization, who they are and what they do, how they're active in our community as well. And in the afternoon, they'll travel along for a 90-minute visit to a local college campus tour, for a campus tour and presentation. As Audrey mentioned, we may have some outlier schools who are outside of the Northeast Ohio realm or scope, but that's okay because we have great experiences with them as well, whether they do a twofer, if you will, for both the business portion and also the campus visit and tour as well. And with the campus tour and presentation, they'll discuss things in terms of the academic perspective, the student life perspective, and then also what it looks like to be amongst that campus environment. Okay. All right. Okay. So many of our participating organizations will ask what the students can essentially expect during their visit to their organization, whether it's a business or a college. And essentially, many of the participating organizations ask what they can present, and this is what it looks like. Here's a sample agenda on the board here. Agendas can be determined by each organization and may include some or all of these components here. It could be a business or organization overview, where they talk a little bit, again, about who they are, what they do. They'll talk a little bit about the business aspect of it, the industry that they're in, and then also the products that they serve to clients in their customer base. They may also do a facility or campus tour, which is really great to get them around and moving and exposed and have a little bit of interaction, not only with the business, but also for the employees that work there, which is really great. And that's where they could see where and how products are made and or how clients are served. Okay? There may also be demonstrations or hands-on experiences, which is awesome because it gives the scholars a level of interaction that they otherwise may gain a greater perspective of what it's like to be at that particular organization. And then the staff panel discussion is a really great opportunity for the staff within that particular organization to showcase essentially the diversity of careers within the organization and share their personal career paths. So that's always a great big hit as well. One of the questions that we've had in our last session was regarding how we match the school. So if you have an organization that's participating in this particular experience, we certainly hope that you all do, ding, ding, ding. One of the things that we really hone in on is, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, is the matching process. So again, how do we get those schools to your organization, where we do have a very extensive matching process, essentially. In mid-January, early January, actually, we sent a form, a fact-finding sheet, to all of the schools within the district to ask them of certain preferences. How many students do they have? What are some of the preferences that they have in terms of dates? Are they willing to travel a longer distance of more than 1.5 hours to a particular business or a particular college or university? We, in turn, do the same thing for all of our participating organizations. Once we've done a little bit of community outreach and gained the commitment of our partners, our really great partners who take part in this experience, we do the same thing for them. we have a fact-finding process to find out, again, how many students can they accommodate? How many out-of-school experience trips are they willing to host? What are the preferred dates that may work best for them in terms of having student visitors on site? So we do have a very extensive matching process, and we are in the very beginning stages of that now. So we don't necessarily just pair you with a school. You know, certainly there's a lot of communication that goes back and forth to make this the most efficient, seamless, and impactful and meaningful process as possible. Any questions about that? Okay. So any activities throughout this process that are engaging, creative, and interactive are certainly most welcome. Okay. Now this is certainly where we ask your commitment of becoming a great partner with the True2U team. We have a lot of great partners who not only is this their first, second, but this is also their third year partnering with True2U for the out-of-school experience. And the out-of-school experience is really a great opportunity for you all as mentors to really highlight not only your career areas, but your organizations as well. Believe it or not, many of our students are very eager to learn who you are outside of the classroom. What is it that you do from a day-to-day perspective in your roles, in your organizations, in your industries, and how does that make an impact to them? They're really interested in knowing that. And furthermore, it allows them to connect the dots, okay? This is a huge, huge opportunity for community involvement and leadership, and participating in the out-of-school experiences will allow our True2U scholars this invaluable experience, okay? So if you'll notice, I walked around and placed a sign-up sheet, an organization sign-up sheet that looks like this, with a bunch of lines and spaces that request the business or organization name, a key contact's name and phone number, or the key contact's email address. If you think that your organization would be a great match for the out-of-school experience, we certainly welcome that and encourage it as well if you're interested in hosting our students. Not only that, if it's not your organization, it may be another organization that you recommend. Perhaps you've seen this organization on some of the greatest places to work in Northeast Ohio or the North Coast 99, that type of thing. I'm putting on my HR hat here. But those are all welcome. If you think that they've got a cool space where students can learn a lot and have a lot of great interaction, we want to hear that as well. What we'll do with the sign-up sheets is we'll certainly reach out to that point of contact. If you don't have a point of contact, that's okay. We'll do somewhat of a cold call to that organization and find out who it is that we need to talk to in order to get that set up for them to be a partner with our out-of-school experience. Okay? So we would definitely love to have all of you as a part of our True2U partners for the out-of-school experience. These are some of our past and present proud sponsors of our out-of-school experiences. Like I said, we've had individual or organizations partner with us not only for 1 year, 2 years, but now going into their third year, which is really great. Some of them include Cleveland State, the University of Akron, Cleveland Metro Parks, Lincoln Electric, Lubrizol, Highland Software, the Cleveland Metropolitan School District will also be a great partner this year because, again, I think as all of us have mentioned, there's a great wealth of information that's out there outside of what's grand and sparkling and glittering for our students. There's a ton of other occupations out there that they will definitely learn more about. Other partners include University Hospitals, Cuyahoga Community College, Baldwin Wallace College, Rockwell Automation, the Cleveland Indians, Sherwin-Williams, and Key Bank, amongst others. And there certainly may be some of you in this room and joining us in future mentoring sessions. Here are just a few photos from past out-of-school experience trips. And, as I said, it's very impactful and very meaningful. I've been with the program since December 1st. And when I tell you this is off the beaten path of my typical career, I'm an HR professional by trade, and so this is something very different. But when I tell you being here since December 1st has been one of the greatest opportunities that I've had just to see the growth and the progress that our students have made within the district, I am also a CMSD alumni, so this is a really, really, really great opportunity for our students, and they don't even know it, but certainly you will help to spread the word. So this is a highly, highly successful program thus far, and will only keep growing, and we definitely look forward to it. Students and teachers alike are very excited, so we're looking forward to this out-of-school experience being exciting, meaningful, and impactful. So we thank you all for your participation in the program. I'll turn it back over to Audrey. Are there any other questions about the out-of-school experience portion before we go into the culminating event? Okay. Thank you. And just something else to add about the out-of-school experience, we do share an agenda that we ask organizations to look at and to kind of adapt or adopt. However, organizations have been very creative in the past. I'm looking at someone from the Cleveland Airport, and that has been one of the great experiences for our students. So just to kind of share, this organization did the theme Shark Tank, the TV show. So their panel that came in represented various careers, and they pitched their jobs to the students, and the students did the theme from the show Shark Tank to say whether or not they wanted a position as the product that they would be getting. So organizations get very creative, and just another one that kind of like is an icebreaker, Medical Mutual has partnered with us the last 2 years, and their staff members, they have a lot of mentors in True2U. They brought in their 8th grade pictures, and they had the students guess who the 8th grader was. So that was really funny, and the students really got into it to figure out, oh, my mentor used to have this mullet, and literally one mentor did. My mentor had this ear piercing, so those were cool things for them to be able to see how this professional that comes into their classroom month after month evolved from an 8th grader like them into this polished person. So those were just some of the creative things that we've seen on some of these out-of-school experiences. So again, if you think your organization would be a good fit, if you don't have all the contact information, you just know the name of the organization, just put that down, and if you have one to suggest, please do that as well. So the culminating event, we're going to end with this, is our end of the year celebration for the students and you all as mentors and the students. So it's when we bring everyone together, we talk about the progress of the students and you all. So it will take place over 3 days this year. So we're starting on May 9th, which is Wednesday, May 10th, Thursday, and then Friday, May 11th. So over 3 days. So each school will be assigned to a specific day, and they will have a specific time that they will come and a specific time that they're going to leave for that. It's all day for us, and it's going to be held at East Professional Center, and we will have the address and more details for you as we get closer to that date. Just an overview, we'll have a keynote address for that activity, and then we're going to have various high school readiness activities for the students. So something, for example, will be GPAs. Students receive report cards, they receive those letter grades, but when they get to high school, those letters equate to numbers that factor into their GPAs. So having them understand what the grade point average is and how these points accumulate and what that means for them as a high school student. That's just one example. So here is a list of all the schools and the dates that they are assigned to. So your schools have this information as well. Again, your school will have a specific time that they are assigned on that date, but you now can see what date your school is assigned to attend the culminating event.
And that's all day, so.
It'll be a specific window for your school, but it'll be an all-day event for the team members. But your school will have a specific time on that day to attend. Okay. All right, so I am going to turn it over to Khalid to come up and talk about the Summer Leadership Academy. And I saw him for a second. Okay. Well, any questions about any of the things that we talked about while we wait for Khalid to come up? All right, he is coming forward, so thank you all.
All right, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. So now we're going to go through Summer Leadership Academy and also take a look into the Curriculum 5 activities and also look ahead to sessions 6 and 7. So the True2U Summer Leadership Academy is an extension to the year-long program. So we build upon the youth development and the career exploration exercises of the True2U curriculum, while also diving deeper into these concepts and placing a strong emphasis on keeping the students engaged in the curriculum and vested in the curriculum. It's a 6-week-long experience. Starts in mid-June and ends in late July. Incoming 9th graders will work in groups of 10 to 15 students and are led by 2 facilitators. The facilitators are high school or college age students. So if you happen to know someone who you think would be a good fit for the summer facilitation job, feel free to refer them. Okay? The curriculum focuses on personal development, career exploration, leadership, communication, and community engagement. So each week, facilitators will work with their groups on these key items. So this is a paid opportunity. Students also have opportunity to participate in some service learning. So last year, we did the Cleveland Food Bank. This year, we plan on doing the Cleveland Food Bank again, but also incorporating maybe 2 or 3 more service learning opportunities. Students also design and facilitate an activity before the summer is out. And they also are able to lead discussions focusing on issues that are important to them, as well as current events. This is a great opportunity for students to meet new friends, as you have students from the east and west side coming together and really giving a ground to open up to each other and become close in that 6-week time. And lastly, most important, students have fun. So now we're going to take a look at the selection process. So mentors will work with their partners to nominate one student. So if your school has 3 different groups, there will be 3 students nominated from that school. So only one person will need to nominate this person. So make sure you guys talk to each other and figure out who will be that person that's going to nominate the student. Once the students are nominated, a True2U person will go out to the school and have a one-on-one informational meeting with the student, provide them with a formal nomination letter and invitation letter, as well as a brochure that they can take home to their parents and let them see it and give them an overview of the program. And then the parent will follow up with us and set up an interview, and the student will come in and do the interview, and we'll conduct these interviews at Neighborhood Leadership Institute, as well as the public libraries on a couple of different branches on the east and west side. Okay? So our goal is to have 50 students enrolled this summer. Last year we had 32 students. So this year we're hoping to grow the program. Hopefully we may be able to get even more than 50. Students that are over 14, most of them will be employed with our MyCom partner, Youth Opportunities Unlimited. And all the nominees that follow through with the process and complete the interviews will either be placed with our program or MyCom summer program. So we're going to try to definitely make sure everybody is involved with something this summer. Okay. So here are some of the program perks. So students are learning and applying new skills week to week. They'll have opportunity to spend the summer on a college campus. So right now we're still in the process of securing our space, but we're looking at either CSU or Tri-C Metro campus. CMSD will provide free bus tickets to all of the students. So any students that don't have transportation, we want to try to make sure that this program is accessible to them. They'll be able to go and have free field trips, so no cost to them. Free lunch every day, and again, the money. So kids can do their own school shopping this upcoming year. Here are a couple highlights from last summer. So as you can see, 2 students had the opportunity to do interviews on WKYC, Molly, and there in the right-hand corner is our trip to the Cleveland Food Bank. We also had an opportunity to meet with Mayor Jackson, so students kind of came together and talked about issues that were important to them, and when we went to meet with Mayor Jackson, they actually got a chance to voice those issues to him, so that was pretty cool. We took a trip to the Indians game, and that also shows you one of the activities that we did outdoors downtown. So here are the keys for mentors to know. So the nomination process will start this coming Friday. I'll email you a link. So in the email, you'll receive a link to nominate the student from your group. You'll also receive a link to refer anyone who you believe would be a good fit to be a summer facilitator. And you'll also get a separate link for yourself if you'd like to volunteer over the summer. So there will be opportunities for chaperones on field trips and such. So if that sounds like something you'll be interested in, you can submit your name for that. So the day after the next True2U session, in-class session, which will be on the 15th, we will be closing the nominations on Friday the 16th at 5 p.m. So make sure that you get your students' names in before then. And yeah, do remember, most importantly, that you are working as a team when selecting this individual. Okay? Only one mentor, again, needs to submit the nomination. You'll want to keep the process discreet so that you don't negatively impact your relationship with any of the other students. So you don't necessarily need to tell the student that you nominated them or anything like that, okay? And again, any students that follow through with the whole process will be offered a summer opportunity of some sort. We're looking for students that show leadership skills and have a strong interest in True2U, but we're also looking for students that aren't always considered for these type of opportunities. So think good about students that show some potential when you select this individual, okay? And if you want to get involved, make sure that you submit that name. Okay. Any questions about the summer program? Start with you.
If you nominate a high schooler to be a volunteer, can they get hired for youth opportunities unlimited as well?
Yes, so the facilitators will also be paid too. Yes, ma'am?
Do those high schoolers have to be high schoolers next year as well, or can we nominate a graduating senior?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a little confused about the nomination. So if we have 2 groups and 4 mentors, we get 1 nomination from the school. Is
No,
that correct?
two
nominations?
nominations, yeah.
Okay.
So 1 per group. Yes, ma'am?
Does the facilitators have to be a CMSD school student?
No. Anything else? Sure. We'll get into session 5, knowing who I am. So this session will focus on debriefing about the high school choice fair, as well as diving a little bit deeper into self-awareness. Okay? At the conclusion of this session, students will identify their multiple intelligences and also get an idea of how they can use them to support their personal goals. So as always, mentors will need to review their session 5, their curriculum, take the multiple intelligence advantage assessment yourself in Naviance, if you haven't already done so, and be prepared to bring your results to class and maybe talk to the students about how your intelligences match up with maybe your schooling as well as your career choice, if you feel like those are matching in some way. And then also review the background document on multiple intelligences. Okay? If you can, you'd like to have a prep call or a meeting with your mentor partners and divide the responsibilities prior to every session. Here is a list of what you'll need for this session. So, almost everything here is provided in the tracker for session 5. So, you'll have a multiple intelligence poster as well as create a beat poster, and everything else, the rest of the worksheets will be in the curriculum guide as well as the student tracker. So here's session 5 at a glance. So today you guys had the opportunity to do the human knot, so that'll be the icebreaker for this session. You'll do a high school choice debriefing, take a break, and then spend the majority of the time examining the multiple intelligences. Okay. So for the high school choice debrief, you'll start off in a large group discussing the experience at the high school choice fair. So you'll ask questions like, what did your experience, how was your experience at the fair? What did you learn at the fair? What excited you? What was one thing that stood out to you? Did the True2U activities prepare you correctly for the fair? And are you any closer to making a decision? Some of the students would have already probably made some decisions, but some are still in that process. So this would be a good time to talk to them about the information that they learned. So the Making Good Choices poster was used in session 3. Feel free to bring that back and look at the steps in making good choices and help the students think about how they can use these steps in making a high school choice. After the large group debriefing, you'll break up into groups with as many groups as you can as far as how many mentors you have, and you'll get a little bit more in depth with what the students learned at the high school choice fair. So in the last session, they completed the When I'm at the High School Choice Fair worksheet, where they wrote down 6 schools that they planned on speaking with at the fair, and also 6 questions that they planned on asking. So you can talk to them about that. And also during that discussion, you'll want to bring in and refer back to the tips for selecting a high school worksheet, which is in your curriculum guide, and the Making Good Choices as well. Okay? So examining your multiple intelligences. So Howard Gardner, a developmental psychologist from Harvard, outlined a theory that humans use 9 distinct intelligences to know the world and learn. He termed them multiple intelligences. So here in the U.S., generally schools are tailoring their teaching styles more toward the verbal linguistic and the mathematical and logical learning style. So Mr. Gardner, he actually looked at it as saying, people have different talents and they learn in so many different ways. So if we could be a little bit more inventive in how we're teaching, everybody will have a chance at success. So the activities for the multiple intelligences will be a couple of different games. So there's 4 activities in total that will take place for the multiple intelligences. So you have your Jenga, Sudoku, as well as creating a beat and the I am poem. Okay? So you want to make sure that students are understanding the connection between their multiple intelligence and how they can use it to build success going forward, whether that's academically in post-secondary schooling or career success. So at the conclusion of this activity, students will know all of the different MIs, understand that everyone has a different intelligence and natural talent. So here are all 9 of the multiple intelligences. Okay? So initially, Mr. Gardner had 8 multiple intelligences that we recently added to existential. But verbal linguistic, that's a learner who learns through spoken word, reading, listening, speaking. So A career that this person might go into might be editor or author. Mathematical, logical person, they learn through reasoning and problem solving. This might be a scientist or accountant. Musical learner, this would be an artist, you know. Visual, spatial learners learn through visuals and organizing ideas spatially. This might be an interior decorator or architect. Bodily kinesthetic learners learn through movement and interaction with one's environment. So these are people that learn more hands-on. This might be a carpenter or an electrician. You have your intrapersonal learners. They learn through feelings, values, and attitudes. This might be a good person to be a political strategist. And your internal personal learners, they learn through interactions with others. So maybe social work might be something good for them. A naturalist, they learn through understanding nature, seeing patterns and ways that nature works and classifying things. This might be someone who goes into biology of some sort. And an existential person, they learn through asking questions and seeing the big picture. So usually you think of these individuals as maybe like your philosophers or something, but I think maybe economists would be a good career choice for someone like this, just seeing how systems work on a big picture. So students will have completed the MI assessment prior to the session. Any students that have not completed the assessment, feel free to have them look at all 9 of the MIs and choose 3 that they think fit them best, okay? Again, you'll want to explain that the assessment is there to help identify what their natural talents are and better prepare them to understand what their learning style is. Through the assessment, students will get their top 3 MIs. You'll want to have the students record them in the tracker if they had not already done so when they took the assessment. So make sure that you print the results for your school before you go into the classroom. Your results will be in the Dropbox link that you have. And you'll also have that MI poster that you can hang up in the classroom and review all of the intelligences with your group. Making the connection. So, the basis of all of these activities are to really get students to think about how these learning styles can be applied on a day-to-day basis. Okay? So everybody has their strengths, and we want them to look at these activities and see where their intelligences are being used effectively and how they're being used in each activity. So between Jenga, the Sudoku, the poem, and the creative beat, you'll have students guess as to which MIs apply to all of those different activities. Okay? And then you also can use examples of how they can apply MI. So if you have a hard time memorizing things, but you're a musical learner, making a song to remember facts might be a good way that you learn going forward. Talking about how to employ these multiple intelligences. Okay, so on your table, you should see a half a sheet of paper folded over a tent. So these tents, so those tents you'll want to place with all of the activities, okay? So prior to getting started, you want to ask the students what multiple intelligence they believe will be used for each of the activities, okay? And depending on your group size, you might want to do all of these activities as a large group or break them up into 2 different groups, okay? So this is just letting you know you can divide your students into 2 groups, place a mentor with each group, and each group will do 2 activities with 15-minute rotation. So one group will be working on the Sudoku, and the Jenga for 15 minutes while the other group will work on the I Am poem and the creative beat. So once they complete those rotations, then you'll switch with the other group and do the other activities. You can have students refer to pages 26 through 30 in the tracker. That's where they'll find all of the instructions for the activities. You'll have them in your curriculum guide as well, so feel free to help read the instructions if you need to, or clarify any questions they might have. Every table should also have a tracker, so feel free to take a look in the tracker and just to get an idea of what the students will have. Okay? So at this time, we're actually going to play some of the games. Okay? So we're going to take about 30 minutes. Make sure that you complete all of the activities, and then we'll reconvene and have a discussion about it. Okay? And quiz the kids and see if they remember which activities employ which intelligences. Okay? Okay. You also want to ask the students what activities they like most and why. And then also give them to think about whether or not it matched up with their top 3 MIs. And also help them brainstorm how they could employ their MIs to grow and achieve. So again, you can use an example like a high visual spatial intelligence might result in someone becoming an interior designer or an architect. We'll also use the career cluster posters. Session 3. So you'll want to match which intelligences go with which the different career clusters, and either a mentor or student can write those intelligences on the posters. Okay. In your curriculum guide, you'll have a list of all of the career clusters as well as which intelligences matches those clusters. So you'll have the answers and help the kids think through it. Okay? And then finally, you'll just want to make sure that you continue to draw the connection between students' interests, their strengths, the Holland codes, the multiple intelligences, the careers that they research, and the high school choice fair, and how all those things kind of work in concert. This here is the table that is in your curriculum guide. All right, and to close the session, you want to ask 2 to 3 students for a recap, 2 to 3 students to share which activities they liked and why, 2 to 3 students to provide feedback on how the activities could be improved, and one of the mentors can record the students' feedback in their curriculum guide. You can share with students the next session topic, and then pass out and complete the student surveys, and be sure to collect those before you leave. Any questions about session 5? So we're going to briefly look ahead to session 6 and 7. So we're already more than halfway finished with the year, True2U year, so we're coming to a close in a minute. So, session 6, my values and the impressions I make, will focus on helping students understand what their values are, what is important to them, and how that can help drive their actions. Think about the impressions they make upon people and best practices for making a good impression. They'll do the creating my brand exercise and think about themselves as a personal brand. So we'll use examples like Nike or Coca-Cola or Pepsi and ask the students what do those brands represent, and then have them think about themselves in that very manner and what they represent. They'll create logos and things like that. And then managing impressions will be a role-playing exercise where students will have a chance to see both the positive practices and bad practices of soft skills for managing impressions. And session 7, the last in-class session, students will work on a high school vision board, so they'll look ahead to the next 4 years in high school and create a vision board that shows what they plan on accomplishing over those 4 years. They'll create the Who I Am t-shirt, which they'll wear to the culminating event in May. And this shirt will speak to who they are, what they learned about themselves, their strengths, their interests. They also do the building supports exercise, which gets students to start thinking about their friends, their families, teachers, people they know that are there for them, their support systems, and how they can use their support systems to help with success in high school and transitioning into high school. They also work on the True2U Reflections poster, and all of the students will be able to share something that they took away from the year in True2U, and that poster will remain in the classroom as a reminder to them all of the great work that you guys have done together. And here's a list of the important upcoming dates. Session 5 is Thursday, February 15th. The day after that session will be the last day that you can nominate a student, so be sure to think about that and talk to your mentor partners maybe before leaving the Session 5 in-class session. Session 6, enrichment training and facilitation training, will take place at Neighborhood Leadership Institute on March 5th, and that will be a session with Catherine Buick from Toastmasters. Again, that's the final one of those for the year. And then Session 6 in-class session is Thursday, March 15th. We'll do a Session 7 enrichment training session at Neighborhood Leadership Institute on Monday, April 9th. And remember that these trainings are not mandatory, but if you would like to come in and just go over the curriculum, feel free to do so. And then Session 7 in-class session is Thursday, April 19th. And the finale celebration will take place Wednesday, May 9th through Friday, May 11th. Any questions?